Hello, this is Kev.
And Lil. We're discussing relationships in all of its forms and everything in between.
We've been together close to 30 years. We've seen some things together and apart.
So if you want to laugh or need advice, come and spend some time with Kev and Lil. Have we met?
Hey, everybody. Okay, so this week we are discussing anxiety. Uh, it's been quite a struggle, or a struggle. It's been a struggle for us as a family.
And the whole world at this point.
The entire world. Yes,
I think, especially after COVID.
actually, well, yeah, it's been exacerbated, I guess, after COVID. I mean, mine struggled many, or more, not my struggle, but yeah, my struggle started many years ago. I remember when it was.
That you didn't even know what it was.
Yeah, I did not. I had symptoms leading up to it. I remember you freaking out.
I thought you were having a heart attack.
Yeah, that's how it began. It was a lot of palpitations that were nonstop. I thought it was maybe I was drinking too much. I could have thought it was maybe cold medicine because that can happen with a fast heartbeat. But it was the weirdest thing one morning, and it was in 2001, and no, it wasn't because of 9/11. This was pre 9/11. It was I think it happened maybe March or May of that year. And I remember waking up one morning and I was in pain, but it wasn't like your normal type of pain. It wasn't like I was achy. I mean, I woke up like my skin was on fire. It was crazy. And I actually felt bad for you because, I woke up going, and you being trying to console me, you put all you did was
I barely touched you.
you you put your hand on me, and I screamed.
Scared
Like,
the shit out of me.
I screamed out loud, and I said, what the heck is going on? I didn't know what was going on.
You told me it felt like your skin was on fire, or you had pins.
Yeah, it was like one of those things where you scratch yourself so much and you felt raw, but I felt that everywhere. Ooh, excuse me. I felt that everywhere. I got up. I went to. I decided to go to the doctor because that's all I could think of was to go to the doctor. And back then, unfortunately, not unfortunately, yes, we both had the same doctor. You thought you were helping. You called the doctor to tell her what was going on, and not realizing, that this was a crappy doctor, in my opinion, because instead of listening to me, she already had preconceived notions
Of what I said.
of what you said, and she freaking prescribed Vicodin. And was it Vicodin or Valium? Maybe Valium. I think it was Valium. It was
something that knocked you on your ass.
Oh yeah, it knocked me on my ass big time. And
Lithium, maybe?
I don't know what it was. All I know is they gave me this stuff. I go into work and I sat there and I was crying and drooling at the same time. Because clearly I don't do well with medications. We can laugh about it now, but man, it was not a good time, man. They suspended me from work. They said, nope, you need a psych evaluation before you can come back. My mother wasn't happy with you, I remember.
Yeah.
She was not happy because she says, what the heck are you telling people that for? Let him speak for himself. And
I just told them what you were going through.
man, Bellevue wanted to take me in. They were talking about, we got a bed for you. I was like, well, I don't want the bed. What the heck? I don't know what's going on, but I certainly don't feel like I should be here. But yeah, it was a bad time. And thank goodness it was one of those things, I guess, where I had a break, so to speak. And I felt better afterwards. and it's come up every now and then since, over 20 years now. And I, thank goodness it's not to the extent of skin burning, but I get that feeling in my back every once in a while where it feels like something's coming on, and I got to rub it down a little bit. But I've learned to work through it. I've learned how to refocus myself. Speaking of, I remember when our son, he called me up one day. He was in high school, and he called me up, and it sounded like he was almost hyperventilating, and he's like, Dad, Dad, I don't know what's going on. And I knew as soon as he said it, I knew what was happening to him. And I told him, look, you're gonna have to do everything I tell you to do right now. Can you do that? And I guess he was so scared that he actually listened to me that one time. And I told him, look at the ceiling. And he looked at the ceiling, and I said, look at the floor, and looked at the floor, and look out the window, and about another minute or two went by, and I told him to focus, for every 5, I said, okay, now you're going to take a deep breath. Okay, now you're going to let it out. Now you hold it. And then we did this for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then finally he goes, Dad, how did you do that? How did you know how to do that? And I said, unfortunately, kiddo, you may have gotten that from me. So the good news is you somewhat know how to get through it, but you may need to speak to someone, because clearly something's going on. And as much as I love you, and as much as I want to help you, and I want to be there for you, and not that I'm not, but but I'm not a professional. So you need to speak to someone. So yeah, I mean it can be a lot. You know what I mean?
Well, I didn't know anything about anxiety until what happened to you happened, and it was the strangest thing. I think it was like the Path, New Jersey Transit, something like that, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
And
yeah.
we were in between states underwater when it happened, and I was like, oh my God. I got nervous. I didn't know what to do. I started panicking, but I guess the panic stopped when I saw somebody reaching for the emergency brake on the trains. And you guys, New Yorkers especially, you know what that means. And both Kevin and I, even though he was going through his episode, we both went, no, don't touch it. And he's like, but he's having a heart attack. I'm like, yeah, dumbass, but how are they going to get in between, the states and under the water to get to him? We have to wait till we get to the other side to get help. So we got to the New York side, and I think by then we were feeling a little better, but he was still off. And we didn't go to the hospital that day because he was feeling better by the time we got to New York. But after that, things started happening.
It was escalating.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is not normal. And this is not right. And I didn't know what to do. So that's when I spoke to our doctor. Like you said, we both went to the same doctor. I didn't have any issues with her. He did, however. Excuse me. And I spoke to her, and I told her, look, Kevin's going through this, and I thought it was a heart attack. She goes, oh, it could be anxiety. It could be a number of things. Just have him, come to me. And I was just telling her everything that had happened until I got there to see her. And then that's when he said, they basically wanted to commit him because they didn't know what was going on with him either. And my mother-in-law got upset with me, and I said, well, I was just telling them what was happening with him, and I wanted someone to help. And that's when they gave him the medication. Medication was the wrong thing, because he's not a lightweight when it comes to alcohol, but when it comes to drugs, he's nothing. He has no tolerance whatsoever. So we just kept on looking for someone to help. I want to personally say I didn't know that I also had anxiety, because I didn't know what the symptoms was, and especially with him and my son were going through it for all these years, I started realizing, holy crap, I have that. I just dealt with it differently, and then I started delving into what anxiety was, because I wanted to make sure that I did have it, and I just want to jump on the bandwagon that everybody's been. So I started finding out that it also it comes from mental disorders. People with other mental health disorders such as depression often also have anxiety disorders. I absolutely have depression. I had postpartum. I still do. Um, it could be genetics. It could run in the family. And we all know because we all heard him talk about his mother-in-law. Yes, yes, I know. That's another episode. Um, so, it could have been genetics. And I'm ticking all these boxes. I'm like, holy crap. Medications, some of the medications I was on or still am, some of them I still am on, also can cause anxiety, trauma. That was another check. People who endured abuse or trauma or witnessed traumatic events are a higher risk of developing anxiety disorder. So yeah, I kept on checking all the damn boxes, and I'm like, oh my god, I have it. And at one point, all three of us were seeing someone, collectively and separately, right?
Yeah, we did do family therapy for a number of reasons. We had some issues at home, you know, and we have two sons. Don't get us wrong, but the younger one has probably been more of a challenge at times, and you know the he has his own issues. I don't want to discuss with that. I don't want to discuss that too much. But I can tell you that he has had anxiety in the past as well. I remember one day, another time he had it when he had an episode here where he felt really confined, I guess would have been it. And unfortunately, Lil didn't know how to react to it. And she was getting in his face, and I understood why she was feeling that way, because that's your kid. You wanna help him, and he's not able to express, and she felt even more pressure, and she pressured him to try to speak, and he was just saying, "Mom, please, just leave me alone,
I just wanted
leave me
to
alone."
know what was happening, and I wanted to know how to help.
I finally had to like pull her away from him, because she was really in his face about it. And I finally said, go away. I will take care of it. I know what's going on. I'll handle this. And it took her a moment to realize it. And she finally left. And I just sat back and I sat down. And I said, "You feeling a little better now?" And he goes, Yeah, I am. I said, "I figured that wasn't helping. But your mom means well." He goes, "I know, Dad. It's just, I go, I know that the time to realize that is not right now. We'll discuss that afterwards. Let's get you feeling a little better first." And he did. Of course, this was years back. He still says he gets the anxiety attacks or panic attacks, as some others would like to call it. But we've all learned how to adjust or deal or handle them as best we could, because just like me, more like he doesn't want to be on medication either. He says it all the time. He goes, "Dad, I feel like if I'm on that stuff, I'll never get off of it. And I don't want to." And I said, "I understand that, but there are other ways to cope with this, and you need to learn how to, and you need to learn to speak to someone." But again, that's another story for another time.
Everybody has their own different ways of handling it. I don't know, to this day, we don't know what caused his anxiety and all these other things.
Our son?
Yes.
Oh.
I think it was trauma. He went through something in junior high school, and I think that started it off.
That was
In
part
the
of
summer
it.
school
Yeah,
thing?
that was part of it.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And you know what? Speaking of our sons, but I also think trauma, yes, I think so. But also, what about social and societal pressures?
Oh,
We are
yeah.
put under pressure for everything and anything under the sun, and I feel so bad for this generation, because it's even more so with social media, and it's just so much. And I think this is where it's just getting worse and worse and worse. I'm glad that he started seeing someone for it. I mean, we forced him to it, because He was underage, so we made him do it. But he was going through a lot with his therapists.
Yeah.
So
he had a well. Again, let's not.
yeah,
Let's not do that.
let's not
Let's
go
not
into that. So anxiety, I found out not so long ago that also gender. Women are twice as likely to experience anxiety as men. Let's talk about this, ladies. Something else that women have to deal with. Like, we don't have enough to deal with, but we are twice as likely. This is just, it just sucks.
Want to hear a funny story? Not funny, haha, but for me it may be funny, haha.
Oh, okay.
So back in the 1860s,
Oh,
hysteria. 1860s, husbands would take women to doctors where they would perform pelvic massages and would cause the woman to orgasm. Later on, these doctors would use an electrical device that would later be known as a vibrator. I think it's pretty funny that you're pretty much saying, yeah, she just needed to get laid.
that's not funny.
But it almost sounds like that, or she needed
it releases certain endorphins. Look,
you know,
there's a
some
lot
guys
of
would say
scientific-
busting a nut, but you know, I guess for a woman, it's cracking an egg.
Okay. Maybe you are the ones that get us to that point of hysteria.
Here we go. Yeah, it's our fault that you're becoming hysterical.
Yeah, the word
because
it's hysterical.
Yeah, it is. It's funny.
Yeah, you caused the hysteria. So you start the fire. You should put it out.
Yeah, we didn't start the fire, Billy Joel.
But yeah, that was part of history, and I read that not so long ago as well.
But you know, it's funny because you mentioned about past traumas as well, and it's funny because you think back and you're going, you know, the bullying or the teasing or whatever, that'll be another thing we talk about at another time as well. But it's you know, I think back now and I look at these guys and they try to say stuff to me, or you know, somebody tries to say something to me, and I'm like, you think you can hurt me, bro? I have anxiety. I can create and overthink fake scenarios that hurt my own feelings. I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying? You got nothing on whatever's going on in this head. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think it's a generational thing too? Like they always, like in TikTok or wherever you go, social media period. Like they say Gen X, like don't mess with Gen Xers because we went through so much. You want to talk about trauma?
Well,
you want to talk? I mean,
in the past, what? Let's say 50 years.
Yeah,
that's
I mean, we were the generation that we
yeah.
wouldn't be in the house till the lights came
Exactly.
up, and
Yeah.
I mean we grew up very, very fast. The latchkey kids, and we had to make our own food, and God only knows. God only knows how many kids freaking burned down their houses while the parents were at work.
Man, it was rough.
It was rough.
I mean, don't get me wrong. These kids nowadays, they're out beside playing, but they're surfing on trains in New York City,
Well,
which
we
makes
did
no
that
sense.
too.
Nah, surfing on the top of the train?
Yeah.
I don't remember us doing that.
Back in
I
the
remember
day,
I
my
remember
friends
doing
and
it
I
on the
used to tag
doorway.
up.
I remember doing it on the doorway, but not on the top of the freaking train.
Yeah, I guess we grew up in different circles.
Yeah, well,
Because here,
dumbass
this
circles.
well, we used to
Dumbass
go tag
circles,
up. My
yeah.
friends used to go tag up in the stations and between.
In
between
this neighborhood,
stations.
yeah. Again, you go back to this neighborhood, the butt suckers,
Listen,
the sucking
don't talk
butts.
about my peoples.
the butt suckers. I'm gonna make them T-shirts, all of them.
Yeah. So
Called
what are
butt suckers.
LESers?
That's what they are.
LESers.
LES. That's all there is to it.
My neighborhood of butt suckers,
That's
and
it.
your no.
It's
Yeah,
LES.
No,
That's it.
No.
That's how it is.
Guys, you gotta help me.
Yeah, and trust
You guys
me, all
gotta
butt
comment
suckers.
and give the LES people a name, because if
Yeah.
my neighborhood, Sunset Park, are butt suckers, which I
Yes.
say no, that's not correct.
We were a neighborhood that stuck together and
This
took care of
neighborhood
each other.
stuck together. You
No,
kidding
they
me? With
didn't.
all the gangs.
Exactly, with all the gangs. There was a gang on every corner. None of you guys stuck together. Get out of here.
Yeah,
We're
but
not even going to get into all
Okay,
that.
whatever.
Get out of here.
So, another thing I wanted to bring up: lack of sleep. Okay, once again, I think women, especially, we suffer from anxiety, and it's the insomnia. You know, lack of sleep.
Guys don't get sleep either. Why? What is this? Just women don't get sleep?
Kevin, well,
Come
you
on.
want to talk? I let you talk when you talk.
Oh,
Now it's my turn. Okay, step back.
wow, you didn't let me call the neighborhood a butt sucking neighborhood, but I don't know. But okay, go ahead.
Step back.
Whatever.
I'm talking from my experience.
Uh-huh.
Sucker.
That's it.
Uh-huh. That's what you are. Lack of sleep. I have been not sleeping well since before, God, I don't even know, since I had my first child 38 years ago. Family. When family depends on you for everything. I'm speaking once again from my experience.
I know you are.
That's a lot of pressure on somebody, you know.
I
and
agree.
Sometimes I come home from someone's house and I
love
feel so like a train ran over me, and it's like I'm like, it's the anxiety. It's starting to creep up, and bills. Come on, guys. When it's time to pay those bills and you have no funds, lack of thereof, and having to pay these bills. He knows. He tells Xavier, mom's paying bills, leave her alone. I get so anxious, and I get that knot in the back of my neck, my shoulders, and taxes. Oh, dear God.
Are you trying to get yourself anxiety?
Yes,
right
I'm
now?
getting
What are
anxiety
you
just
doing?
talking about anxiety.
What are you doing?
And then I get sick. And then the health part comes over. Like, health, the lack, once again, of health causes anxiety. Because, like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Or look, it's not funny. But I'm just saying, it's all connected. And, like, speaking of health, when I go to the doctor, oh, well, you got to lose weight. No shit, Sherlock. I've been trying to for years. The up and down. That also affects your body. And it gives me anxiety. And the worse I get, the more freaking issues pop up. Like, there's this cute enamel pin that I bought, and it says it's too people-y outside. Sometimes I just don't want to deal with people. I just don't want to deal with people. I don't want to go out there. It's too people-y.
Okay. I mean, you know how I feel about most people. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, you know, you gotta, you have to learn to, what's the word? You have to learn to find the place where you're okay.
Yeah.
You know, where you feel comfortable. Whether it's with other people, whether it's with hobbies.
Anybody that knows me, they know what my hobby is. It's paper crafting.
Yes.
I love scrapbooking.
Yes, we know.
So I know when I'm depressed, when I don't want to scrapbook, when I don't want to play with my papers. Like my mother used to say, oh, tu papelito. That means you and your papers, your little papers. That was my happiness. Of course, my family's my happiness, but sometimes your family also causes the anxiety. So you got to step away.
we know your family does. But you know, again, episode for another time. Subject for another time. But
And sometimes I even get anxious. Well, I used to, because now I'm like, no, we have an understanding. But I used to get anxious just having to say, okay, I would take some me time. Like I would go away a weekend scrapbooking, or I would go out with the girls. And sometimes I used to get anxiety just thinking like, am I being selfish? I'm spending too much time doing my stuff or me stuff. But as I got older and the more therapy I took and whatever, it's nothing wrong with some me time. So don't get anxious. No, you're not being selfish because if you don't take care of you, you won't get any better.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, you can't add days to your life, but you can add life to your days. So you have to, and I've said this type of thing before, where it's you have to have that plan. You have to realize, okay, if Plan A is not working, I need to move to Plan B in a hurry, because if not, you can be in a rough spot really fast. You know, and nothing kills you faster than your own mind.
Yeah.
And you really don't need to stress over the things that are out of your control.
For crying out loud, I used to stress about cleaning. Remember when you first met me?
Oh my God.
Jeremy, my oldest, he used to call me Monica. It's from Friends.
And I was putting it nicely.
Yeah. And I used to do a Monica a lot, especially when family used to come over, especially my mom. It used to give me such horrible anxiety because everything had to be spotless. Because it's funny because when Kevin first saw that side of me, that Monica side, he's like, "Are you kidding me? Your mother's not that bad." He didn't know my mother back then like he does now. I said, "You kidding me? She will be one of those people that will swipe her finger on your furniture to see if there's any build-up dust on it." He's like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" Like the white glove thing, I'm like, yes, that's my mom. That used to, but now at this point, I'm like, I don't care who comes over. The house is a mess. The house is a mess. And at first, I remember too. I was like, oh my God, what would people say? And Kevin was like, fuck, I don't care what the people.
Yeah, I could care less. I could care less. It was one of those things I always remember my mother always saying, "Oh, what are people gonna say when you go outside? You're a reflection of me." And I agree. And now that I've gotten older, yeah, I agree. But you know what? If you're coming to my house and you're trying to criticize me, then you're not the person I should be having over to begin with.
Yeah.
Forget you. You're not worth my time. If you're gonna be that person to criticize, and I tell you, there is one person in particular that loved to do that. And I would look at her, meaning Lily, and I go, "Yo, why is she here?" "Oh, because yeah, I know who she is. And maybe you need to start telling her to not come if she's going to be so critical, if she's going to make you feel lesser than." But again, that's a work in progress. That's something that Lily to this day still needs to learn to get to work her way through. But she has gotten better. Yes, you have absolutely gotten better. It
I
took
still
you a while to
don't have
realize.
it in me to.
I'm not saying to say F off. That's not.
I
That
would
is
never
not
say
something
that.
I would say.
I would never say that
I
to
would
my
never
mother.
say that. But I would say, yo, you know what? I be honest, because you know me. I'm nothing if I'm not honest. Yeah, you know what? You're not worth my time right now. And if they don't like to hear it, then maybe that'll force them. And if it doesn't force them, but maybe it will force them to finally say, "Man, I am being a jerk." Because that's what that person is. That person's a true jerk.
Sometimes people do get to that point. They realize that they have been a jerk to this person, but some people don't.
Yeah, well, maybe
So,
that's something they need to learn.
Yeah.
And I you know me, I've been trying to teach that person since the moment I met you. but unfortunately, they don't take it for what it truly is. They think I'm the problem, which is pretty funny. But again, a story for another time.
I was also talking, talking earlier about bills and taxes, finances. That stresses me out. Speaking of not sleeping, how many of us lay down in the bed? Maybe it's just me. I hope not. I lay down, I try to fall asleep, and all I'm thinking is like, oh my God, are we going to have enough to live in when we retire? Have we been saving enough? Should we save more? I got to hit the lotto because I'm, it's like I stress out about the future. And, I think I should worry about the present. But the thing is, I worry about both. My anxiety goes to like the 10th power when I go to sleep. And I just found out that it's called, what was it that I said? Sleep anxiety. Like when your body's supposed to start winding down, mine does the opposite. So I get this anxiety. I start getting the heart palpitations, and sometimes I feel bad because I feel like I wake up Kevin because I start tossing and turning, and I feel bad. But that's what happens to me at nighttime. I get that sleep anxiety, and I can't fall asleep. Why? Because my brain just does not shut up. It just starts thinking about everything, the future, the past, the present, everything, work. Is Kevin's job? Is he okay? I thank God, knock on wood, he loves his job, and I'm so happy for him. I've been trying to find a job for like the past 2 years since my mom got sick. That gives me such anxiety that I feel like I am not bringing in what I should. And that gives me big time anxiety. And Kevin, another thing, Kevin makes fun of me. Lately, the older you get, stuff happens. Like my mom gets anxious with the weather. Like if it's raining too hard or if it's snowing too hard, for her it's like the end of the world. Like she does not drive. She doesn't want to even step out of the house. My thing is at nighttime. I can't drive at night anymore, guys. I can't. He makes fun of me. He says that I have what?
You have a junior license.
I have a junior license because I can't drive at night. I mean, I can't. God forbid there's an emergency. I can. But I can't see really well. And that's when the anxiety starts kicking
You
in.
can't
yeah.
see.
I feel like, oh my God, I can't see.
Like
and then that gets
DMC.
me even more wound up. And I'm like white knuckling it on the steering wheel. But thank God I have been able to bring that down.
Well,
Or you still
what?
have more to add?
No, I think that's about it. I mean, I can say this honestly as a piece of advice. Therapy works.
Yes.
At least it definitely worked for me. As time went on, when I first had it, or better yet, when I first, I had a really crappy therapist 20 years ago. But when I went again, I was a little more open minded this time, and I got someone that was a little more open minded as well, and it helped me a lot. And and anybody that comes to me and that I speak with, I'm a big advocate for it. I'm a big advocate for it, and just hey,
Stick with it. It's like buying a pair of shoes, ladies. You know what I'm talking about. You gotta find the right fit. You don't know what you're looking for. That first time, like he said, his therapist sucked. He didn't know what to expect. He didn't know what to look for. As time progresses, we know.
well, I mean, I knew. I mean, that was a heck of a lot of time to progress. That first therapist, he just bugged me because I saw him a couple of times. I didn't see him again until a couple of months later, and instead of him going over the notes from the first time, he wanted me to go over everything again, and that just turned me off. So I never went back. Fast forward years later, our son was in school. He was having problems, and I told him one day, I said, "Hey, you're not going to school today." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "You're going to come with me to the hospital." And he's like, "What do you mean? Well, I don't need to go to the hospital." I said, "No, we're not going for you. We're going for me. I want to go see a therapist." I needed to show him, and I needed to be that example that said, "Hey, you know what? Something's wrong here. Clearly there's something wrong with me, but I need you to see that I am not this arrogant idiot that doesn't believe that, hey, I can't get help too." So at that point, we both were seeing one individually, and then we wound up seeing a family therapist for the three of us.
And then at one point, everybody was in
And
therapy.
then, well, no, actually, I graduated therapy, and
that doesn't mean that you
I
shouldn't
gra-
go back.
I graduated therapy, and but no, sincerely, they told me I didn't need to go any longer, which was a great. I was so happy when I heard that. And then Lil started to see someone, and because both me and our son were stating to her, like, you need to see someone, you don't even realize it. And you'll go into the therapist's office thinking everything's hunky dory. You know what I mean? You go in there going, and I would see the therapist a lot, in person, where Lily does it. She does it telehealth, I guess you want to call it. But she speaks to them over on Zoom.
Yeah.
And but I'll go into the office, and the first thing I'll sit down and like, oh, so how was your day? Oh, I'm good. How was your week? Ah, fine. Everything's good. And then they would pull that one little thread, that one little thing, that trigger, man. Because, there's triggers, man, that you don't even realize they're there. And they pull that little trigger. Oh, yeah, so how was your son? Oh, let me tell you about this little mother effer. Oh, how was it with your dad? Oh, this mother effer. Let me tell you. Oh, and yeah, so it took a minute. Yeah. It would take a minute, and then I would and then by the time I was done, I'd go, crap, I didn't even realize that was bothering me that much.
Mm-hmm. For me, I felt that it was helping even more so when my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And I felt like my whole world, and I know it sounds like, oh, poor me. No, I just felt like my whole world came tumbling down. I had to quit my job. I had to take care of her. And that's what kids are supposed to do, right? But it was just so much, so fast.
Kids aren't supposed to do that. Don't make
I know,
it like
but
that
you know what I'm
That's
saying.
An issue too.
Societal thing, and that's what that's what kids are supposed to do. Which, you know what, I didn't complain about that. But my thing is, it's like it was too much. I had no help, and I'm gonna say my son, my husband, and my sons didn't help me. They did, but I felt like I got mad at my mom one time, and I told her, "Why don't you have any more kids? It's not fair that I'm doing this all by myself."
Oh, because she wanted to make you feel guilty.
I even made her laugh when I said that. So it just I got a lot of help from my therapist. They helped me through a lot. They helped me see things. I opened my eyes big time. Like, I used to take the abuse, and I thought it was normal. I thought that was normal until my therapist says, no, you need to distance yourself. And I'm like, but how can I?
Get up and walk out.
And let me tell you, it took a long time, but now I've been able to say no.
What's my favorite thing that your therapist says to you? That every time she says something, she goes, "Your husband is right."
Oh, shut up.
That's right. Yeah, she says that a lot to you, doesn't she?
When it comes to my mother, guys.
She says it a lot to you. And I just laugh and I smile, and it makes me so happy. It makes me so happy because someone else is validating what I have been saying for years. But again,
it took me a long time, yes.
Again,
but like he says, that's for another episode.
Man, I tell you, that is going to be one long ass episode.
I think there's going to be a couple of parts to that.
So, with that being said, again, if you have to, please, there's no shame in it. Get rid of that stigmatism. Yes. Just, do what you got to do for yourself. Look, and that's another issue altogether where people don't think, or not that they don't think, but they don't think of themselves a lot of the time. They're always worried about the next person. Mm-hmm. And, that's a whole other issue. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you for listening to Kevin Lil, Have We Met? And here's hoping you have a better relationship in your life.
In your life, yes. Please seek help.